Garlic is 6 times more potent than tetracycline. Now, tetracycline is a antibiotic. To have it as potent as an antibiotic, or to play a role as an antibiotic, you must have 3 raw cloves a day. So an adult will have 3 raw cloves like that. For a child, you might halve the dose. Now, in your books, there's a recipe for the flu bomb. And the flu bomb has 6 ingredients. This is how I remember it. I remember it by 2s. Garlic and ginger. Garlic as much as you dare. Ginger, probably about 1/4 teaspoon finely chopped, and the garlic you finely grate. I was going to say, this is a great grater. That sounds like a pun, doesn't it? But I love graters like this, and when I'm cooking, I just grate straight into my pot, and I'm going to use it in a minute. And you can even travel with that little grater. So you see it's quite fine, so you'd finely grate the ginger and the garlic into a cup. So there's your first 2 ingredients. The next 2 ingredients are 1 drop of eucalyptus oil. If you haven't got eucalyptus oil, you could use tea tree oil. One lady said, but Barbara, it says on the bottle you must not consume it. And I said, well, I'm not asking you to drink half a bottle. We've got some common sense, haven't we? No, it's not very common today, I realise that. So 1 drop. It's an age-old remedy. People have been using it for centuries. Well, Australia's the land of the eucalypt. And one 80-year-old lady told me this 40 years ago. She said when one child had a cold in their house, the mother would put a few grains of sugar on a teaspoon and a drop of eucalyptus oil, and they all had to have a dose. And, you know, it's been used for centuries. The reason why they say you must not take it is 40 years ago, a little boy in Tasmania, you've heard of Tasmania, that little island at the bottom of Australia, he drank a few mouthfuls of eucalyptus oil and went into a coma. So they banned it. Now, there was such an uproar about it that they legalised it again, but if you buy eucalyptus oil in Australia, it's got poison on the bottle. Do not take, and it's because of that. How many young men have died from drinking a bottle of scotch at a party on a Saturday night? Has the alcohol been banned yet? No, it doesn't make much sense, does it? So we're looking at the 6 ingredients. So we've got garlic and ginger, 1 drop of eucalyptus oil, and cayenne pepper as much as you dare. Some can handle a sprinkle, some can handle half a teaspoon. Occasionally some can handle 1 teaspoon. We'll be talking about cayenne pepper in a minute. So there's 4 ingredients. The last 2 ingredients are the juice of a lemon and the teaspoon of honey. So it's a really expanded lemon and honey drink that many people have taken for colds. And then you add about half a cup of water. So if you feel a cold coming on, flu, any respiratory, of course, what's all the go at the moment is COVID. You take a flu bomb 3 times a day and it'll be gone in 3 days. Of course, at the same time, you've got to exercise and drink all your water and eat very lightly. So that's the flu bomb. Another way some people take it is they'll have a bowl of hot soup and they'll just grate the garlic straight into the soup. And you can certainly do that, but you've just got to have that clove 3 times a day to take the place of antibiotic. Even though they say it's equal to antibiotic, it's also antiviral. It's also antifungal. It's also anti-yeast. So it's a remarkable, we'll call it a herb. What about a little baby? How do you put it on a little baby? Well, you finely slice a couple of slices, and then you bind it to the bottom of their feet. So this can be done for a little one, and I'm going to do it with a piece of paper towel, which you certainly can do it with, and you cut a strip. So what I used to do it with was a piece of cloth, but you certainly can use some paper towel, and you'll see why excuse me, that's important. So I'm putting 2 slices of garlic there, and then I'm folding it over, and then that is wrapped onto the bottom of the baby's foot like so. So can you see what I've done here? The garlic does not touch the skin. If the garlic touches the skin, it will cause a blister. Now, it won't really hurt the baby, it's just then you'll have a blister and you won't be able to apply the garlic till the blister heals. But if you put a piece of cloth or paper between the skin and the slices, it will not blister. I used to then put a sock on or a little bootie. My son James was having a lot of chest problems, so I often did this to him, and he was 3, and I'd put his sock and his shoe on and he'd go outside to play, and every foot he takes, he's treading on the garlic, and so the slices allow the garlic to be taken up little by little. It takes 1 minute for 1 drop of blood to go right around the whole body, and within a few minutes you could smell the garlic on James' breath. So that's how you can do it to a little one, to a baby, is on the soles of the feet. But remember, you don't put it straight on the feet. Onion you can, but not the garlic. The onion, when you put the foot goes straight, rests straight onto the slices of or the chopped up onion, but not the garlic. Now, our castor oil has soaked through. You see that?
Yeah.
So that's ready to apply. And you can also make it early, and even fold that over and put it in a little bag and keep it for a later date. Now, when you are using the castor oil, probably about every 2 days, you might find it drying a little, and then you'll add a little bit more castor oil. So you might find if you're using it for the month, you'll apply the castor oil every couple of days. So I'll tell you an incident that I had recently with the castor oil. I have to give you a little bit of background. When I lived in the rainforest for many years, whenever we drive through the creek to go out of the property, we'd lose our brakes. So I got used to driving with my clutch. So I'd slow down using my clutch. Meanwhile, I'd be pumping my brakes, because sometimes it would take half an hour before I had proper brakes again. I just got used to driving like that. So let's fast forward to, where are we, 25 years later, and we mostly have automatic cars, but my husband recently bought a car that was gears. And when I started driving it, you know the pathways we have in our brain, we're going to look at this on Saturday morning, I just flipped back into my old way of round the corner, I'd use gears. And when I was slowing down, I'd use my gears. So my left leg is getting a lot of use, especially because this was a 4-wheel drive. It was sort of and I'm just a little lady, so it took a lot of strength. After 2 weeks, my leg began to hurt from my knee down, and I thought, well, I've just overdone it. And I've just overdone it, and my leg is not used to it. So I went over to the automatic car again. A month later, my leg is still sore. Now, when it's still sore, you got to put your detective hat on and go a little bit further. So I saw my son, who is trained in remedial massage, and he's fairly brutal. Is my son. He just tells me to breathe. It hurt. And he said, Mum, you've had an old injury on this leg. And I had. And I remember 10 years ago, I was walking down steps, and I was talking as I was walking, and I tripped. And the point of the step, my shin went straight on it. It hurt. I put a poultice on it for a few days, and then that was enough, and I was fine. But I always had a little bit of a dent there, so I must have maybe dented the bone or something. I don't know. Never gave me a moment's trouble after that. And he picked up that an old injury, can you see we've got a few threads coming together? An old injury, overdoing the leg, and now I'm in pain. And he said, this has got a lot of scar tissue there, which I'd never had pain there. And Peter was brutal. And I decided to choose a gentler way to break up the scar tissue. So I made a castor oil compress. I probably made it half that size, and I bound it onto my leg, my shin area, down near my ankle. And I wore it 24/7. I wore it to bed. I wore it through the day. I just wore it. I think I wore it for a month. After a week, I went and let Peter do another session on me, and I'd forgotten how much it hurt. I didn't see him again. But the point of my story is I wore it 24/7 for a month, and I noticed no pain. I have absolutely no pain there now. But it obviously penetrated deep, it broke up that scar tissue, but I had to be diligent. I had to be very diligent with it. I decided to use the gentler approach over Peter's manual breaking up with his thumbs of this scar tissue. Point is, you got to keep at it. One or two applications really won't do much. You've got to do it again and again and again and again. So yes, I drive an automatic car now.